Okay, hello everybody. Good morning, and I'm Rose. I'm currently working as a teacher, but if you told me I would be a teacher a few years ago, I maybe would laugh at you because I definitely hated teaching before. And why is that? So I'm going to share with you some stories of mine. So I grew up in a single-parent family with my mother. Well, my mother, she is a Chinese teacher, and she has been teaching for, let's say, about 20 years now. Well, ever since I was a kid. So it was kind of a bad thing for me because my mother, like what I'm doing now, she is a teacher in a private school, which means she will have to work at all of the weekends, all of the summer vacations, all of the winter vacations. So whenever I have time at home, she would be at work. So for a child me, it was definitely a bad thing. So she didn't really have a lot of time to accompany me. And most of the time, she would try to bring me to her classroom, and I would just sit in the back of the classroom. But the little me was protesting against her, like trying not to talk with her, trying like we were just like strangers. Well, thinking of it today, I was a little bit cute. However, something did happen, and it totally changed my opinion. Like it was not just like I hate my mother being a teacher. It's like I think she's transformed by this job. So it was a Saturday morning. I remember specifically. Everybody in my house was sleeping. It was pretty early. However, the phone rang. And my mother, she walked slowly towards the phone, and she picked up the phone, and she answered peacefully. Well, I think somehow I knew something big happened. So I started to secretly cry, but with no sound. And then my mother went back to her room, and in my imagination, I guess she held the pillow over her head, and she screamed. Well, it was nothing like that happened before. At that moment, I knew a terrible thing happened. So I assumed that day we wouldn't have to go to school anymore. We would maybe go to a different place to tend to this thing. But the truth is, after a few minutes, my mom went back to my room, and she woke me up, and she said, Rose, you have to understand something now. Like, your great-grandmother, she's very, very sick. But I wouldn't, cancel school or anything like that. I'll still have to go to school and do the teaching, and you have to go with me. Well, I was shocked. I knew it's not just like very sick. My great-grandmother passed away that morning. Okay, I remember specifically. It was 2009, March the 19th. My great-grandmother passed away. And my mother didn't go back to see her for the last time. Instead, she chose to go to the school to teach. I kind of think she's crazy. She's so strong. She's like a machine, not a real human being anymore. And from that day, I promised myself I will never be a teacher because being a teacher means I have to sacrifice my family members and my friends and my loved ones. Okay, that's a sad story. Anyway, I grew up and I went to high school. It's actually located in Ruoshi, and I had a great teacher. His name is Mr. Tian. Well, he influenced me so much. He always reminds me of Don Quixote. I think everybody knows about this person, right? He is a real idealism person. And during his classes, he always asked us to go onto the stage and do a lot of speeches about our personal life, about our opinions, which doesn't really happen in our high school. I think he was against some rule when he does this. And I remember one day when I go on the stage and I told a story of my mom and my stepfather, their love story. We don't really do that in front of the whole class, right? Especially for high school kids. But after my speech, my teacher, Mr. Tian, he didn't feel unhappy or anything. He actually said to the students, and he said, well, I think none of you understand what Rose said earlier on stage. It's not a love story, actually. It's about always remember where we set off in the first place. Well, this sentence is engraved in my head. I will never forget about that day. I think he gave me the confidence to actually talk about my feelings. Now I will not elaborate on the love story, but somehow he understood. But after that, I fear teaching more because I feel like I will never be the kind of person he is. He has a lot of responsibilities on his shoulder. He's changing a lot of people's life every day. And I thought I will never be that kind of person. Being a teacher means have too much burden on the shoulder. Okay, so naturally, I didn't want to be a teacher, but I'm very good at English, obviously. And after high school, I entered college, and I chose my major as a translator and interpreter, which means I have to deal with English, but I don't need to do teaching. Well, it was perfect. So I was really looking forward to be a translator when I was in college, and I tried my best to study it. And I'm not saying I'm very good at it, but I say I'm pretty good at it. Okay, so yeah, like I imagined, after the college, I went to a translation company. It's one of the best in China, and I've been dreaming about it for 3 years at that moment. But when I did enter the company, I guess I was wrong because I didn't like the job at all. I imagined I would look cool. Well, you know, in the past when I tell people would ask me, like, what do you do? I say, hey, I'm a translator and I do patent translation. People would say, wow, that sounds really cool. No, it's not cool at all. It's not a cool job. I wouldn't say it's a bad job. It's just a job that's not suitable for me. So after 3 miserable working experience, I quit this job. So why I quit this job? First, they didn't let people do collaboration. There's no teamwork in this job. Also, those very professional translating materials make you feel life is hopeless. I would say this. So after quitting this job, I paused for a while, and I thought maybe I had a wrong idea about this work, which means I had a wrong idea about teaching as well, because I have never tried teaching while holding the prejudice towards it for a very long time. Then I called my mom, and I asked my mom, Mom, do you think like I always have prejudice towards teaching? And my mom didn't really answer me, but she shared with me the real experience when my great-grandmother passed away. She said, I knew this thing influenced you a lot, but the truth is, it's not because I don't care about your great-grandmother anymore. It's because from that moment I realized she passed away. She's gone forever, and she's the most important person in my life. So now I do have to find something to hold on to not fail her expectation for me when she was raising me up. So it was actually teaching that brought her and her grandma together. Well, after the story, both of us teared up. And then I asked her, you know, I had a lot of good teachers when I was growing up, but I thought I will never be responsible as them. So what should I do? My mother said, I think you are already responsible enough when you ask this question. Maybe now you should just try it. Yeah, so later I did try it. And I have been working as a teacher for a while now. I think this new job totally changed me. It has shaped me into a different person. I'm definitely more confident, and I have found love with my work. Well, what I'm trying to say here is, we should never judge a book by its cover, or we should never make a judgment before we actually try something. Because maybe if you try it, you will realize through this whole time, you've always had the wrong idea about it. So it's not just about work, it's also about a lot of choices you make So hopefully today my story can inspire you a little bit. So thank you.